Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Wolf, and this is my EDH deck tech for Omnath, Locus of Mana. It's the first tech that I've ever done, and I might put a couple up later this month. We'll see. Anywho, this Omnath deck is designed to be a Voltron deck. It goes big, it goes tall rather than going wide, and aims to deal 21 commander damage. I've heard a lot of people talk about what they call blackjacking, where they want to do 7 damage 3 times, but honestly, that's just slow. And they're going to do something about that if you're trying to kill them. So what this here Omnath does, for those that don't know, his power toughness is equal to 1 plus the size of your mana pool, and your mana pool never empties, as long as he stays alive. And that's strictly green mana, but he is in mono green. He's a 3-drop. It's, I think, one of my most fun decks, because I think Goldfish as well. It is efficient, and I've tinkered with it over the course of a couple of years, so at this point it's very well tuned. I'll post the tapped out link in the description if anyone wants to maybe playtest it or see it in detail, see the curve and whatnot, because the curve is very low. Because mine does not necessarily play other creatures as its win condition. But it does a bit, so I'll go into that a bit. Start off with the mana base by saying it is forest, nothing but forests. 37 forests. I originally had Rogue's Passage, but paying 4 to make something unblockable once is just not efficient. There are other better ways to do that. And if it's, I oftentimes keep 1-landers if I have appropriate ramp, and if it's the only land in my hand, then that's just not going to work. So I took it out. So again, 37 lands. That's all I need for Mr. Omnath. Moving on, I have show the ramp cards. I've categorized them into their CMC. There's all the 1-drops. Of course, I have all the 1-drop elves. These all tap for 1 and are for 1. Arbor Elf is great because Arbor Elf untaps a forest, and oftentimes you'll have forests. This is why I also want only forest, because he can untap forests, and oftentimes forests will be tapping for 2 or 3. And that makes Arbor Elf a 1 mana tap for 3, which is amazing. There's a Paradise, same thing. It also is a flying blocker if I absolutely need it, but that's not too common. But it basically just works as a 1 mana 1 drop. Wild Growth and Utopia Sprawl enchant my lands and have them tap for 2. These are also great plays. You can oftentimes, I've played Arbor Elf on turn 1 and then played this on turn 2 and still been able to cast Omnath. It's amazing what they can do. And that's Sol Ring because Sol Ring. I originally didn't have it in here because it didn't give me green mana. But what it does do is basically say once a turn a spell costs 2 less. So really this pays for itself and then some, because, it is Sol Ring. In the 2-drop slot, in a similar manner, Emerald Medallion is great because all green spells cost less. And I only have green spells. And if you're ever using a watercolor deck, the medallions are must-haves. I play Secure Tribe Speed Bump. He is amazing. Sack to get a forest. Pretty straightforward. Also a blocker if you absolutely need it. Explore I love because oftentimes I won't have a 1-drop and I'll still play this because it lets you get to 4 mana on turn 3. And it draws a card. It's great. I love it. And then Nature's Allure is great. Especially, it even works late game as well because it comes in untapped. So it's basically a 1 mana. You basically lose net 1 and still get an additional 1 a turn. This deck has a lot of math. It's great. In the 3-drop slot, a similar card to some prior ones is Overgrowth. It's not as efficient, but it does make a land tap for 2. Additional. So again, you have Arbor Elf tapping for great numbers, which is great. One and the same are Cultivate and Kodama's Reach. Oftentimes, again, if I have 1 land and a Mana Dork and one of these, that is amazing, and it makes me so happy that I can do these. I love these. And then an interesting card is Selvala, which in a sense, again, pay green and tap to add mana equal to the greatest power of all your creatures. The first line of text, first rule is basically like, if you have big creatures, you get to draw cards, but this rarely affects anything, and I often forget about it as well. But again, double your mana pool by tapping her. Amazing. Love her. A little pricey, though. I have 2 Planeswalkers. Of course, I have these ones, Garruk and Nissa, both untapped lands. 4 mana, untap 2 lands. 5 mana, untap 4 at a time. They're both great, especially if you have a land that's tapping for 2 or 3. They get you so much mana. People will try to kill them often. Nissa's ultimate lets you take all the forests or any number of forests out of your land and put them down. I've never done that, which I think I did once in like just a fun kitchen table game, but I'm not going to use it because getting plus at least 4 mana by using her is just amazing. And then the bigger ramp spells, there is Frontier Siege. I do have it altered in the most ridiculous of ways, but Frontier Siege basically says, you can choose one or the other, either add GG at the beginning of each main phase, or whenever a creature with flying enters, it fights a creature, which I'm never going to use because all I have is Birds of Paradise, and that's never doing anything but giving me mana. So 4 mana, get 4 mana a turn. This is dumb. This is really, really dumb. In a good way. I recommend it. And even in like a 2-color deck that likes ramp, this is a good card. Especially because it's both main phases. Vernal Broom is great because, again, this makes all of your lands. This is, again, why I only use forests, because they tap for additional G. I love it. But it is symmetrical, so if a lot of people are playing green, I won't play it. Or I'll wait till... What's also good is to wait till you untap in your next turn and play it. That way, everything you untap with, boom, is doubled. So waiting to do it, even if you could play it in a second main, it's better to wait until the beginning of your turn, because it'll give you that chance to be the first one to use it. Because again, you get to float all your mana. You just have all that old mana. You just pop it down and just start ramping. It's great. Last mana dork is Cameron's Acolyte. At worst, if you have Omnath out, it's a 4 mana tap for 2 green, which is even itself okay, but with a bunch of enchantments and other permanents out, this can tap for 5, 6 at least. Good card. I used to have the Umbral Mantle, which is an infinite combo for infinite mana in here, but that just never happened, and Umbral Mantle is a good card, but to get these 2 out, there are just, I guess, better 2-card combos out there. Catch a Claim. Search for 2 forests and put them in untapped. Great. In the late game, it basically says lose 2 mana, gain 2 mana each turn. Early game, it's, just good ramp. And you can even play a little enchantment or something after that, or some equipment. Great card. It's basically 2 Nature's Lores taped together. That's what it is. Doubling Cube. This is great. It is in Spanish, but it does say pay 3 and tap. Double each type of mana in your mana pool. So the way this works, if you have strictly green, tap it, add the difference to 6. So if you have 6 mana and then activate this, you'll have 6 mana. If you have 7 and activate it, you'll have 8. If you have 10 and activate it, you'll have 14, and so forth. But if any less than 6, you'll lose mana off of it. Go to Lotus, of course. Basically, pay 5, get 3. Call it green mana. It's great. Cage Sun, as well, just like Vernal. It's basically just like the Vernal Bloom. All of your forest tap for additional green. And I always forget, everyone gets a +1/+1, but that doesn't come into play too much. This is also kind of a big target, I found, but it's a great card. And then in multiplayer, it's Absolute All-Star. You play this, everyone wants you dead. Seaborn Moose. It's good. All of your permanents untapped. That means your dorks and all your lands and Omnath. So if Omnath also is, perfect blocker if he has reach, but he doesn't. Cool. And that's all for ramp. Moving on to draw. Sylvan Library, great because, you get to rearrange the top 3 before you draw and pay an additional 4 life if you want to draw an extra 1, or 8 if you want to draw 2. It's good. If I do have 1 card that gives lifelink, and I've gone up to 80 life, and every turn just draw 3 cards at the beginning of your turn, it's a good card. A little pricey, but it's good. Staff and In is kind of dumb. I mean, not really efficient. It basically says draw an additional card to your upkeep, but the ability to do 1 damage to any creature at will is nice. You can get rid of anyone's mana dorks or utility creatures. It's good. Skull Clamp, because Skull Clamp, banned everywhere else because it's that good. I've learned that if you stop drawing lands, you should clamp one of your elves, because they will die and you'll draw 2. You'll likely draw a forest, and you can play the forest. That forest replaces the elf, and you get an additional card off of that. It's great. And I'll usually just have it on Omnath as kind of just a safeguard in case he gets hurt. He gets killed, I get to, draw 2 cards off of it. So it's kind of a, pity draw. Reach Card's Expertise is a new card I've added. It's it's a 6-drop, so you lose a lot out of it. But you, like, let's say Omnath at the current stage of 12/12, and you use this, he's now 6/6, and you draw 6, which is in itself decent, but you also get to cast one of those cards for free, which is pretty good. So be it like a protective enchantment or a ramp spell, you just get to pop that off immediately and get some value out of it. This cycle was pretty decent, I think. Harmonize. Just Harmonize. Pay 4, draw 3. Not too efficient. Not as good as Ancestral Recall, but I mean, when you have copious amounts of mana, 4 mana is not bad for draw 3, especially when you're in mono green, which does not draw well at all. Wildest Dreams, another Kaladesh card. I think this, in this deck, is much better than Eternal Witness, because Eternal Witness is, pay 3, get a dude, and take a card back. But because it's double X, you basically, for the same way, you pay 3, and you get to draw this. Get 1 back. Because I don't run any recursion, especially in these colors, I think this is a direct upgrade from Eternal Witness. You can also pay 5 to get 2 back, pay 7 to get 3 back, and so on and so forth. Let's talk removal. Removal I have, unfortunately in mono green, there's not too much creature removal. A lot of artifact enchantment removal, which I've chalked this full of. Terastodon is also a good beater and blocker. Destroy 3 permanents. It's great. Song of the Dryads turns one of your opponent's creatures into a forest, or any permanent, but I'll usually pop that on a creature if I have to. Beast Within is similar. I was lucky enough to get it as a gift in foil. It's a little pricey that way. But, destroy anything, get a 3/3. Their opponent gets a 3/3. But that's only usually a problem if Omnath is not unblockable. And oftentimes he is. Uvenwald Tracker is actually hilarious because, he says, Omnath, go kill. And Omnath will do a bunch of damage. And if he has lifelink, then it's even better because you gain a bunch of life off of it. What you're killing usually is smaller than Omnath. So this is pretty useful. And then for enchantment removal, the instants include Nature's Claim. Destroy anything your opponent gains 4 life. We do commander damage. We don't care about the life. Naturalize costs 2. But hey, destroy any of the artifact or enchantment unconditionally. Natural State is a 1-drop. Destroy any artifact enchantment. 3 convert mana costs 3 or less. Little selective, but it's not too bad. Rex Sage is also a blocker with destroy. And then Coarsen Grip is, can't be countered. Destroy artifact enchantment. Good stuff. There's a big category right here of cards that I call like evasion, protection, blockability, etc., etc. You have Whisper Silk Cloak, for 5. This is why I think better than Rogue's Passage. For 3 mana plus 2 to equip, unblockable. And the Shroud is great because he's basically under the radar and he can just get in there and just deal a bunch of damage to somebody. It's great. I don't know why this isn't played in Commander more often. This is much better than a lot of things. Can't be covered. 2 mana. Can't be blocked except by Flyers and Reachers and Hexproof. Very good. Pop that on Omnath. He's under the radar. He's hard to block, hard to kill. Especially when you have something with Totem Armor. He's a beast. Just get in there and destroy stuff. Nylea. Can be a creature, cannot be a creature. I have her in here strictly for trample. And I have a couple other beaters in here that I like to use. So the 4 mana pump a creature is sometimes used. But mostly this is just for trample. I might take her out at some point if I find something that gives better trample later. Trailblazer's Boots gives you can't see it anymore, but it said equipped creature has non-basic landwalk. And in Commander, that basically reads as unblockable. And that's why I have this altar. 2 mana, equip the 2. 4 mana, make him unblockable. It's a great card. And then Lightning Greaves and Swift Boots speak for themselves. Haste. The haste is not too useful, but the protection is great. If Shroud is kind of annoying because I might want to put an enchantment on him, so I'll move it to a dork and put it back. That sometimes is a window for their opponent to kill him, but that's fortunately never happened to me in my year of playing with him. And then the Umber, Spider Umber, a 1-drop. Give him 1 free, quote-unquote, regeneration, but +1 and +1 to reach is decent. It's basically to keep him from dying from a board wipe. Bear Umber is ridiculous because untap all your lands when he attacks. That basically says, add mana equal to your number of lands to your mana pool. This is a great card. But the 2/2 is also nice. And the Totem Armor as well. An undervalued card in Commander, I think, is Guy's Embrace. Especially works well in this deck. Gives him trample. The trample is great, and also the ability to regenerate. We'll almost always have green mana available to regenerate. So if If this doesn't get destroyed, he's safe from combat damage, board wipes, any black or red kill spell, etc. It's great. Rancor, because Rancor, basically, once you get it out, there is the Rancor clause. When Rancor is put into the graveyard from play, return to your hand, you will always have Rancor. Always have Trample, and you'll always have +2/+0. This is a good card. It's a little over $1 right now, but it's a great card. And again, hatred outlives hateful. Basilisk Collar is great because Death Touch and lifelink. You get to gain a bunch of life. The life gain is great in most games, actually, especially because like he's big. You'll be gaining 10 life a turn. And the Death Touch is great, especially with... The Death Touch is good because of the Trample. So the way that works, for those that don't know, means a trampling creature with Death Touch only has to deal 1 damage to each creature to kill it and go over. So Trample Death Touch is great on Omnath. I'm going to hold on to this for a minute just to show another interaction later. Evolutionary Escalation is hilarious. Beginning of each upkeep, put 3 1/1 counters on one of your guys and one of your opponents. I also have this in my Feldegriff deck because it is hilarious. I just take someone's Birds of Paradise and I turn it into a 18/18. It's great. I usually put them on Omnath, sometimes on my other beaters, but it's good. You put it on somebody's utility creature and a different one each time just to make them bigger, and you don't care about them. And they'll probably throw it under the bus when I throw Omnath at them. Nim Death Mantle is, let's read it there. I mean, it gives them 2/2 and Intimidate and makes them black. Most importantly, it's a 2-drop, but you can pay 4 at any point once he hits the graveyard to save him. It's great. Alpha Authority is a lot like Canopy Cover. It is a 2-drop that says Hexproof but this one says only blocked by 1 creature, so rarely will Omnath be smaller than the sum of all their creatures, so you can throw Omnath at somebody with this and they'll just not be able to kill Omnath. It's great. Now, the counterspells. I do have a counterspell and a half in this deck. I use Not of This World. It's a 7-drop. Never do I pay 7 for it. Counter target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. If they are going for one of my auras, yeah, you'll pay 7 for it, which sucks. But if they try to attack Omnath, it says doesn't cost anything if it targets one of your creatures. Power 7 or greater, and oftentimes they'll be attacking Omnath if he's 7 or greater and coming at them. So having this in hand basically is a free save Omnath. Even better than that is Heroic Intervention. This is such a good card. 2-drop. Give all your dudes Hexproof and Indestructible. Basically, I treat it as a counterspell. If somebody plays a kill spell or a board wipe, boom, just play Heroic Intervention and Omnath, and all your other crap is saved. My last package here is the Tooth and Nail package, I call it. It's, again, you can pay 7 to do one of 2 things, but ideally what this card says is pay 9 mana, put 2 creatures from your library onto the battlefield, no strings attached. And in my mono green deck that just ramps to the maximum, this is a good card. And there are 3 creatures that I will usually pull up 2 of. They are good old Vorinclex. This is a prison card, but also doubles on my mana. Archetype of Endurance, which, again, gives all of my guys hexproof, be it Vorinclex and himself, and gets rid of hexproof for your opponents. I have only had that be useful once. I was playing a Guys of St. Traff, and I immediately beast within it once I played this. It was great. And Blightsteel Colossus, big old BSC. Mine is in Chinese, but it does say Trample, Infect, and Indestructible. So basically, it's 11 power. So basically, as long as he touches someone, they die. And with Hexproof, that's amazing, because Indestructible Hexproof makes them so good. And, like, I've also had the interaction with Basilisk Collar. So, again, with Trample Death Touch, it basically says you have to block with 1 dude or more, 2 guys or more, you're dead. And I also one time put my Evolutionary Escalation trigger on him, so he was a 14 mana, Trample, Death Touch, Indestructible, Lifelink, Infect, badass. And he basically, this guy had to throw all 5 of his creatures under him to live. And I won that game, a 4-player game. It was great. Love these guys. They are the homies. They are Plan B. I love them. Plan C, not necessarily Plan C. A great card is Genesis Wave. Just got reprinted in Iconic Masters. It is, pay 3 green and whatever amount you want to get the top cards and put them onto the battlefield. I will usually cast this for at least 13. 12 is the highest CMC that I have in this deck. And you get all the lands off top, all the equipment and auras and whatnot off top. It is great. You just pop all those on Omnath and retap everything, and you've got all that additional mana, and you can just go to town. It's a great card. And that's everything. I also have Omnath in Japanese, because I like foreign cards. Again, if you are interested in a Voltron deck that gets really big, really fast, and just uses a lot of cards from all throughout Magic's history, this does use a lot of pre-modern cards, I would recommend this deck as a Voltron deck. When it comes to other Voltron decks, I might recommend Sigarda for her built-in hexproof, Ruhan, Uril, even Ruhan. But I love Omnath. I wanted to make a Voltron deck, and I built him, and he just built himself. I love him. That's the deck tech, fellas. All right, peace and love.